Today, we are going to be talking about my 10 favorite games of all time. So first up, Cyberpunk 2077. This is a game everybody hates on, and my strongest emotional moments in any piece of art ever, 100% Cyberpunk 2077. The ending, the moments you have with characters on side quests, the open world, how amazing the city is, and how just amazing the character interactions are, and the moments you have with them. To me, no other game compares to Cyberpunk 2077 on an emotional level and what it meant to me and how it spoke to me on a personal level. And for me, that's why this game's number one. Number two, that one's easy too, chat. That's Prey, the 2017 Arcane Studios game, not the older game that was also very good. Prey, it's simple as that. It's the greatest immersive sim of all time. I always loved Deus Ex growing up. I love the Dishonored games. Every immersive sim I've ever played, I've always loved. Prey is the single best immersive sim game of all time, though, and it's not even close. It's an amazing sci-fi world. It's super interesting, scary, intriguing. There's so many ways to solve every different puzzle. I talk about this game all the time. Number three, chat, Mass Effect. All right, chat. So Mass Effect, for me, specifically Mass Effect 1, I would say. That would be my favorite one. But really, Mass Effect is a series, man. The original trilogy, not Andromeda. The original Mass Effect trilogy, man, was one of the first games that really got me into RPGs and gaming as a whole, man. It was the first big sci-fi opera game I played, and honestly, one of the only big sci-fi opera games I've ever played. There are barely any in the industry, and that's why I'm so excited for Starfield. But Mass Effect, man, the characters, the decision-making, the places you went, man, the interesting aliens and backstory of the world, dude. I literally spent hours just listening to some British guy read off the codex about the history of the world, and that was some of my fondest gaming memories as a kid. Next up, boys, number 4 is Elden Ring. So this is a game that actually recently just came out, so it's kind of weird for me to potentially put this on the list this high up. But as someone that just finished Elden Ring recently, and actually is on my second playthrough, partway through the game, this game is absolutely amazing. It's my first FromSoft game. I never played Dark Souls. I never played Bloodborne or Sekiro. This game is absolutely phenomenal. Some of the moments here are breathtaking. The bosses you go up against, the music that is in these fights, and just the sense of this giant open world that always has more to explore, and everything feels worthwhile, whether you're getting new gear or finding new areas, and the map just never ends. This is one of the most massive open worlds I've ever played my entire life, and every single inch of it feels like it has so much content. This game's absolutely insane. I can't believe that they were able to make this much content in just a couple years. Even on full production. So Elden Ring, even though it's so recent, this is definitely in my top 5 favorite games of all time, no questions asked. Number 5 is Elder Scrolls Oblivion. So for me, Elder Scrolls Oblivion is my favorite Elder Scrolls. It was the first Elder Scrolls game I played, and actually the first Bethesda game I played. And as a kid, man, Oblivion was just different. At the time, it had amazing graphics. Coming out of the sewers in the beginning of the game, my mind was blown. And just being able to traverse the world and go anywhere you want. This was my first open world game I ever played as a kid too. And just going into towns and messing with NPCs, going on the Dark Brotherhood storyline, and just experiencing this world for hours and hours and hours as a kid every day after school. This was some of my fondest memories in all of gaming, and something that really made me fall in love with single player games as I got older too. This and Mass Effect were the games I remember most as a kid. Number 6, boys, this one's also easy, and that's Halo 3. I played a ton of multiplayer games with my friends as a kid, whether that was Modern Warfare 2, all the Halos, etc., etc. But for me, the one that hit home the hardest was for sure Halo 3. Nothing ever came close to this in terms of how much fun I had with friends every day after school. We would come back, we'd go on Sand Trap, get all the friends together on Xbox Live, and just start shooting the shit and having fun. Halo 3 was such an amazing experience, and on top of that, the campaign was phenomenal. I remember doing the driving mission where the music kicks in in and everything's exploding around you. Me and my friends would play campaign co-op every single weekend for years, and Halo 3 was the peak of the Halo franchise, no questions asked, and also some of the peak moments in terms of my multiplayer gaming career and just having fun with friends, especially as a kid. And I'll never forget those times, man. Halo 3 is one of the goated FPS of all time, and even though now it's hard for me to go back because I like Infinite's gameplay so much better, I think 3 is still a great game and the epitome of the series, not even close. Number 7, another quick one, and this is a little indie game some of you might not have heard of, and that's called Inside. So Inside's an indie game from Playdead Studios. They're like I said, a small indie studio, but they're the guys behind Limbo as well. And I haven't played any of their other games, but a while back I decided to try Inside at the recommendation of another YouTuber I knew. And it's a phenomenal and small little indie experience. It's super atmospheric. There's a lot of intrigue and horror going on and some crazy moments, particularly at the end of the game. And even though there's not a lot of dialogue or traditional quests or really things that a lot of other games have, it just was such an artistic and meaningful game for me. For some reason, I just really enjoyed it. It smoked me on so many levels, and that's why it's number 7 for me. And at number 8 is The Witcher Tales Thronebreaker. So for anyone that doesn't know about me, even though I do love Cyberpunk 2077 and CD Projekt Red, I'm actually not a fan of Witcher 1 through 3 at all. I've tried to play Witcher 3 so many times, literally I think 5 total, putting in over probably 50 hours, and I've hated it every single time. I cannot get into that game. But funnily enough, I love card games, and trying out The Witcher Tales Thronebreaker, I kind of realized how cool this universe can really be and how much I enjoyed it when it was in a setting where I enjoyed the gameplay more. Witcher Tales Thronebreaker is one of the deepest RPGs I've played. There's a lot of interesting decision making going on. There's a lot of decisions that you make early on that can affect you drastically later down the line. The morality in this game is not as black and white as something like, say, Mass Effect, and that makes it interesting, right? It's a much more mature RPG. It takes itself much more seriously, and I think it's better for that. It's a very long game. It's a very deep game, and also the gameplay mechanics and the story mechanics intertwine so much, with certain people leaving your group and no longer being able to use their card in combat, etc., etc. It's a really well-designed game, and it's the first game that got me into the Witcher universe, which is ironic because this is probably the game the least amount of Witcher fans have played. Number 9, we actually have another card game, so as you can tell, I am a fan of card games, and that's Inscription. It's a game I played a couple months ago. I have a review up on my channel. I have a review for most of these games up on my channel. And Inscription for me is just an amazing experience. And a lot of that comes down to things I can't talk about because they're so spoiler heavy. But all I can say is Inscription is a game that, just take my word for it, you need to play. It seems like it's just a card game on the surface, and that is most of what the game is, but there's a lot seeping behind the corners. This is the most interesting, scary, and twist-heavy game I've ever played in my life. Some things happen that you will not expect at all, and it's probably one of the greatest indie games of all time ever made, and I had a great time playing this on stream, and I'm glad to put this in my top 10. Final one is an easy one as well, and for me, my number 10 choice would have to be Starcraft. This is the game that got me into gaming. When I was a kid, my dad was really big into Starcraft. He was a programmer, and he would play Starcraft all the time. And whenever I would win soccer tournaments or do things like challenges that my dad had me do, like try to swim to the bottom of the pool and back up, whenever I would do those, he told me he would play Starcraft with me, and that's what kind of fostered my love for gaming. And this is what also fostered my love for esports. This is why I play Valorant nowadays, Dota, League of Legends. That sense of competition has always been really high in me, and this game kind of met me there and then got my love for gaming going. And this is why I ended up starting to build my own PC, as well as getting an Xbox to play other games with my friends. This is the game that started it all for me, and even though I don't think it's my favorite game of all time for sure, it definitely is in the pantheon of the top 10, because this is the game that started it all for me. Let me know what you guys think about my list and what your guys' top 10 games of all time are and why, because I love hearing from you guys. And thank you for all the support, by the way, and checking out the YouTube videos and coming to the stream. I do appreciate it.